I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Stormwater Management Board on Wednesday, April 12th, 2023. And the first item is public input for items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak about anything? Or on Zoom, which we don't see quite yet.
Screen. I just wanted to ask about the agenda because I looked online and didn't find one.
Oh, there's a link to it in the email.
I can share my hard copy because I've got it pulled up on my computer.
And also, if I could be promoted to a panelist, I can copy and paste the link that you do have available online into the chat.
I'm just waiting for Zoom to see if there's possibly any other public input. And could I please see attendees? Thank you. And it does not look like there are any attendees, so we will move on. The next item of business is the approval of minutes.
I move approval of the minutes for January 11th, 2023.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. The next order of business is the 2022 grant summary presentation.
Martha and Hannah are going to do this at our May meeting this time. Hello? Nope. It's on.
We can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me now?
Is it turned on?
It is turned on, yes. Well, we can see you on caption, so they can hear you on Zoom. Okay. Hello? Oh.
Yay.
Okay, thank you. All right, Martha and Hannah from the SWCD will actually be doing this at next month's meeting. We figured that out this morning, so I apologize for the miscommunication there, but they'll be doing more regular updates for you on our grants program with them, so you can expect them in May. So we'll skip that one today.
Okay, thank you. And the next thing is the MS4 co-permitting memorandum of agreement with Ivy Tech Community College, Bloomington. Ms. Fitonia, do you have any?
Yes. So we have a co-permitting agreement with Ivy Tech Community College in Bloomington. They're located within the county jurisdiction, but they also have their own MS4 permit. So it is very common for some of these smaller MS4s, such as a local community college or other town, to co-permit with a larger MS4 entity. So we have a very large MS4 program in the county. It makes sense for us to co-permit with them so that we can help provide them with guidance, work together on certain educational activities, and just really benefit each other by having this agreement in place. For example, when Ivy Tech's MS4 program was audited in 2021, Connie and I were there with them during the audit and helping them through that process.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Titonia?
I went back and looked, and I didn't see really any difference between this and the previous permit, so
Yeah.
co-permit agreement. Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
I really only changed I got rid of the old Rule 13 language and updated it with the new MS4 general permit in from the state.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
So Tony and I have already talked about this. The officers need to be changed on some of this, I think. But
That always happens a bit around the beginning of the year.
so do we need a motion?
Yes,
I'll make a motion if you're ready.
yes.
I'd motion to approve the MS4 co-permitting memorandum of agreement with Ivy Tech Community College, Bloomington, with the caveat of updating the signature line to represent the current stormwater president.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for the MS4 co-permitting memorandum of agreement with Ivy Tech Community College, Bloomington. All in favor, please say.
Public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there any public comment on this? Yes. And there's still no one on Zoom, so I'll assume there isn't. Everyone in favor, would you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And our next item of business is the Friends of Lake Monroe concerning the Community Action Initiative funding request.
Hi, I'm Maggie Sullivan with Friends of Lake Monroe. We are submitting a funding request to expand our Community Action Initiative next year. This is continuing some work we started last year, primarily focused on septic education in Monroe County. We're doing a number of other projects as well in 2024, including a green fishing campaign. We're working on some youth education and a few other initiatives, but we are specifically asking for $13,000 to help with doing a voucher program where we would assist homeowners with pumping their septic tanks, since that's an important way of making sure they're maintained and they're not leaking into our streams and lake. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Sullivan? Yes.
It goes in line with your request today, but you were offering some assistance to get septic tanks inspected and maybe even flushed. Would you be able just to give us like a cursory update of how that went and maybe how many different homes or septics were looked at?
So we did this program last year, and we contacted about 3,000 households. We heard from about 100 of them who were interested, and ultimately it was 78 who took advantage of the program. There were a handful of others who either had trouble getting their septic tank pumped in the window we were requesting it, or one or two said they'd had it pumped, but they didn't have an invoice to show me. So we know the word got out there. We had a lot of really positive feedback. There were another handful of people who said, hey, I appreciate the reminder. I don't need the money, but we're glad you're doing this work.
Thank you so much.
Very nice. Any other questions?
Yeah, so we've approved some ARPA funding for the same kind of work, but not just focused around Lake Monroe. So I would love to have a conversation with you. Maybe after the next meeting that we have, we could chat about that.
Yeah, I would love to hear more. I was
Great.
not aware. I know we talked about that being a possibility.
Great, thank you.
And I think there's also legislation going through right now at the state level about regional watersheds. And so I don't know what kind of funding or anything might come along with that, but I know it's at least some things are being looked at.
I have a question that's not totally about this. Do you do anything along the same lines for farmers that have herds of cattle or herds of anything in the watershed?
Sure. So another project we're doing right now is a cost share program. We received another 319 grant through the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. And this is a 2.5-year project that's primarily focused on farmers. So it's cost share up to 75% reimbursement for a number of soil and water conservation practices. In terms of livestock, one of the big ones is exclusion fencing to keep those animals away from streams. We're also looking at heavy use area protection, so putting down concrete or gravel where the animals gather to protect the soil and prevent erosion. And it also makes manure management much easier. A number of other practices are roof runoff structures to help with erosion, doing some pasture seeding to really help get rid of those bald spots, and then a number of practices for cropland as well.
Wonderful. That sounds very comprehensive.
We try.
Are there any other questions? Is there any public comment? All right, then I'll call for a vote on the Community Action Initiative funding request from Friends of Lake Monroe.
Do we need a motion?
Oh, we didn't have a motion, did we? No, yes, I do need a motion.
I move approval of funding the Friends of Lake Monroe Community Action Initiative request at the $13,000 level.
That wasn't the request, was it 2,000? Was it 13,000?
I think it was 13.
Did you say 2,000 when you got up here?
I'm sorry?
What was the amount of the request?
13,000.
It is 13,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's,
All right.
yeah. Thought I read that correctly.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I have a late question, and it's kind of in regards to, I was kind of curious if we could ask one additional question. It's in line with kind of the whole watershed kind of process, and this is, I guess, what the House Bill 1639 Watershed Development Commission. I guess the date was scheduled yesterday for the State House room. Are you tracking that bill at all? I know NASM is, and I know other associations are, but
Not closely. It's my
Okay.
understanding that bill's been introduced a couple of times, so we're just kind of waiting to see if it happens this year or not.
and I guess my main point to bring that up is that potentially gives us another tool in the toolbox to look at this watershed since it touches 5 different counties. So
Absolutely.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item of business is the stormwater expenditure reports for February and March. Ms. Zitonia.
Sorry for all the scrolling. Here we go. I actually have January, February, and March in front of us. So Lynette and I have been working on redoing these financial reports for you. The previous reports weren't really capturing any encumbrances, adjustments, or transfers that we were doing within the budget lines throughout the year. So we're hoping that this top section with the blue, green, and orange lines is an overview of what happened in our 1197 budget for that month, and we'll be calling out any adjustments or transfers with this new format. So this top part is going to give a big overview of each account line and showing what the actual balance is for that line at the end of the month, and how much we have left in that account line at that time. So it's a little bit of a change, but I welcome your feedback on these reports if you want to see something different. And then if you go down to the next block under the gray lines is more detail. So if you have a question on, say, you know, something that you see up top in the 20s or the 30s. You can go down and see when that check date happened and what the details of that expenditure was. It is simplified. We are simplifying it more because this isn't every single invoice we receive. We kind of group them together. If there are similar things being purchased, say, you know, we have several invoices from Rogers Group for clean fill and stone and things like that. We're trying to group things together to make it easier to read, but it should give you a little bit more detail and really tell a truer story about the state of the accounts based on what transfers we're doing throughout the year. So that's my initial introduction to this. Also, in future meetings, I would like Lynette to help me present this because she's the one who processes all of our bills and knows a lot more about the day-to-day and what comes across her desk. So look for that in the future, hoping we can provide you with better financial reports that are useful. And so, okay, so for January of this year, you see we have several lines where we were able to encumber based on existing contracts. So let's go through. In the 20s, you can see the beginning appropriation, expenditures, and then our leftover balance. Some of the things at the beginning of the year were pretty standard for the crew. We did a lot of ditching in the winter, which is typical to prepare the roads for paving in the summertime. I'll talk a bit about fleet maintenance in the next month's reports. And then again, expenditures in January were pretty minimal. Go down here. So our on-call contracting is for flagging. That helps us with ditching again in the winter time. We had the expenditure for the Fieldstone SCADA software. That's still in the works with that contract. Disposal fees, that was a carryover from 2022 for street sweeping removal. Let's see. And then that was our big health insurance for the year. That's our entire account line that came through, so we paid that off for the year. The rental of equipment is, again, that straw blower. You've seen that before, so that's been very useful for the crew to use. Okay. This is for February 2023. Fleet maintenance, we've had several things happen. One of them being some issues with our grade all. Right now it is up in Indianapolis being fixed. It's gone up there several times over the past couple of months trying to troubleshoot an issue. The grade all right now, we were told it might be gone for the next 5 months. I have a glimmer of hope that they might be able to get a part and we'll get it in a few weeks. If it is going to be gone for that long, I'm going to look at renting something. So most of the fleet maintenance budget has gone towards the grade all so far. We also had some minor repairs on one of our pickup trucks as well. So, let's see. What else do I want to say? For professional fees, you're going to see some drainage plan reviews from Chris Verberg Engineering. Site plan reviews are picking up again this time of year, so I've had Carrie Day, like Chris Verberg Engineering, review quite a few site plans. The Drainage Board has reviewed most of those as well for design standards. But just to let you know that you'll be seeing some of those. Okay. That is really it for this. The Stip Road, Morse Creek Road, $1,000 was for the easement documents with the Corps of Engineers. So once we get that moving along, we hope to clear trees this fall. All right, and here's March. Again, that fleet maintenance bill was, again, pretty high. I'm going to keep an eye on this since we're only quarter way through the year and we've used half of our fleet maintenance budget. So just to let you know that probably expect me to look for some additional funds for that line probably by the summertime. Let's see. In public education participation, we were able to pay out the funding to the SWCD for their grants program. That was approved at our January Stormwater Board meeting. And Yeah, we have a few upcoming trainings that we've paid for. So we have our MS4 annual meeting in May every year. So as of right now, just Adam and Lynette will be going to that. Let's see, we all attended the Indiana Lakes Management Society conference that was here in Bloomington. So it was a nice, easy training opportunity that was local. So that was really a great event. And I attended road school as well, it was my first time going to road school. So it was a great opportunity to cross-train for myself. Okay, does anyone have any questions on January, February, or March expenditures? No? Okay.
There's a lot to
Yes.
take over. The format, I guess I'm getting a feel for it, so I think that's going to be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
I
Thank
welcome
you
your feedback. Feel free
Also,
to send me an email.
if you think Lynette would be good at providing those type of updates, I'm in support of that too.
Yeah.
And I guess finally, the educational opportunities and taking advantage of them. I do like to see that, so that was great. And we actually ended up in one of the same sessions, and I got to see Kelsey ask, more of a right-of-way group of folks about how they coordinate with their stormwater, and it was cool. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, thank you very much for this new format. That is certainly helpful. And our next order of business is staff reports. First, Adam Rickard.
Yeah. So Adam is going to do our MS4 annual report. That was submitted to the Indiana Department of Environmental Management on April 1st. That's the deadline every single year. So as you know, we had a document signed where the 3 commissioners are not required to sign that report every year. I can sign it, but we're still going to give you an overview of what was in the report, and you will be required to sign our permit renewal every 5 years. So I know things are a little bit different this year, but that's just some background on what's happened. So.
And Marie Dishian and Forrest Levy. O'Neill Fellows presentation on 2021-2022 post-construction BMP Best Management Practices Inventory Data Summary.
So they'll go after Adam. I have Adam's pulled up right now.
Oh,
sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
to,
couldn't really hear what you were saying, and I thought you had said something rather different. Yes.
No, Adam's going to give you a presentation now with an overview of the annual report, and then we'll hear from Forrest and Marie on the BMP inventory. And then I do have a quick update for you as well, even though I didn't list myself as a staff report.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for confusing that.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'm going to provide the 2022 annual report highlights. I'll go through each one of the MCMs 1 through 6. So, okay, so yeah, this is okay. So for the 2022 stormwater utility operations, we made a concerted effort to increase the amount of requests that we were closing out for the year. And so, for example, we had 286 requests that we actually completed 323. So we had around 113% closure rate for the year. And Lynette Murphy was able to build a cartograph report that showed this, that especially for the older ones that were had been open for 25 to 36 months, we had about 4% closed in 2022, and then some older than or greater than 36 months, we had about 5% of those. So the most common type of drainage request is just to improve the ditching or making a berm. And then cleaning culvert was about 19%. And then investigation of a drainage issue was about 16%. So from there, we're moving on to the public education and outreach portion. We produced 1,000 copies of the 2023 calendar, Partners for Protecting Our Water Supply, and those were distributed at the fair and other locations. And then as part of the stormwater education for retail gas stations, I visited, there's only 14 retail gas stations in the MS4 jurisdiction. And with the potential for spills happening more frequently, they might be smaller spills, but spills of gasoline, we wanted to have the operators understand where their stormwater infrastructure is and to ensure that they're prepared in case they had a small spill, that they had sufficient cleanup supplies and they had a mechanism within their company to resolve that as quickly as possible. And then Marie and Forrest, you'll be hearing from them shortly. They created all our Facebook and Instagram posts, or most of them, I should say. But one of the posts was an Instagram post on a rat-tailed maggot, and maybe Marie and Forrest can tell a little bit about this, but it was really phenomenal as far as the number of views. It was about 16,000 views on that video alone on Instagram. So that's very interesting. So, and then during the gas station stormwater educational visits, this is another example of a poster that Forrest and Marie worked on, that we gave this to them so that they had have something to refer to in case from anything from fuel spills to just daily cleanup of their property. That with a retail gas station, you have a lot of traffic and a lot of potential for just trash and debris at that property. So, okay, and then as far as the minimum control measure 2, the public participation and involvement, last year we cleaned up Jackson Creek Park along with Monroe County Parks and Rec, so that we had about 12, we had 12 participants that cleaned litter and debris along Jackson Creek, and there was limited spraying of invasives by licensed applicators as well. So here in a couple weeks, we hope to do that for Clear Creek and try to get some members of the community to help out with that. So we're coordinating with the Parks Department to make sure we have a clear path of what areas that we're cleaning. And then minimum control measure 2, additional programs that we were involved with was Friends of Lake Monroe, Maggie, and this is, I just pulled this off their website. But the information that was provided during the virtual workshop was extremely important, and there's a lot of good questions that were asked by the participants. There was 31 participants that attended the virtual training, and it went over basically maintaining a properly operating septic system, how a septic system works, the do's and don'ts, and also information on the extremely popular Friends of Lake Monroe septic maintenance cost share program. And that is important because you think about maybe a new homeowner that has moved into a property. They may have a fairly large family, and they may not have any experience with the septic system whatsoever. So they may not realize that it's important not to do too much laundry, or you may not have the possibility to do laundry at your property at all because it wasn't really designed for a septic system at all. So I really glad that we can partner with Friends of Lake Monroe to provide that education to the residents that need that. So minimum control measure 3, illicit discharge detection and elimination. For 2022, I first worked with our interns to do the outfalls that we had already documented in our cartograph, our asset management system. So there were 69 of those, and then we moved on to areas that we were confident that there was outfalls, but this hadn't been mapped as of 2022. So we captured an additional 38 outfalls, and of those, I think there's 107 total outfalls. 76 were maintained by the highway department, and then there's 31 private outfalls.
Would you explain what an outfall is to me? I'm sorry.
Sure, absolutely. Basically, it's just where the infrastructure, the stormwater infrastructure, whether it be a ditch or a buried pipe, discharges to a stream. It's basically, we want to make sure we know where those are and monitor those so that if there's anything other than stormwater that's discharging out of the outfall, we need to follow up on that and to work to find the source and then work with the responsible party to eliminate that illicit discharge.
Thank you.
Welcome. And then as part of minimum control measure 3, IDEM has a clean marina program where they, if you have a marina and the marina wishes to fulfill the steps of the clean marina program, they can offer that as a way to show their the people that use the marina that they have met, the environmental standards that IDEM has set forth for marinas. So as part of that program, there's also the Clean Boater Pledge program, so that basically anybody that has a boat that wishes to use water, they can, it's very similar to the Clean Marina program where they want you to use pump outs to be taken into consideration when you fill the engine with gasoline, that you're not spilling it, that they provide some equipment so that you're minimizing your impact when you're using your boat. So as part of that, we worked with with IDEM's Clean Marina program to develop these signs that will be posted at these 7 DNR boat ramps here in the next few weeks that will basically they'll be in the parking lot. So if somebody had a boat or they were interested in participating in this, they would walk up to the sign, scan the QR code, and that would take them to that site so they can get additional information. So I'm pretty excited about this because the nice thing about this is that we can track the participation rates, prior to this, the signs, and then after the signs are posted. And it sounds like IDEM is going to expand this throughout the state. So Monroe County will be the first county that will be posting these signs at Lake Monroe. So minimum control measure 4, construction site stormwater runoff. There is a fairly significant change in 2022 from the change from Rule 5 to the construction stormwater general permit. So Erica did a really good job of making sure that all the contractors were aware of the changes and what the requirements were for that. So she sent out emails with instructions on how to navigate that process. And then in relation to that, we had the contractors workshop, which had 41 participants at Ivy Tech, and had some topics ranging from erosion and sediment control to the proposed changes to the Monroe County Technical Standards Manual and drainage design. Okay. Okay, and then as far as the emails that Erica sent out, that did, like I mentioned, that did present some challenges for the local contractors. Several of them required assistance just navigating the IDEM portal because it's technology, and technology is sometimes hard to navigate. So Erica did a really nice job doing that. All right. And then for minimum control measure 4, we had 135 construction site inspections that were recorded in the MCM4 construction tracker. And the active site tracker is used to record permit information, stage of development, disturbed areas, whether it's in a critical watershed or not. And it assigns a inspection prioritization on a scale of 1 to 4. And then that data is then used to create maps so we can kind of keep track of this visually over time. So at the conclusion of 2022, we had 54 active construction sites and 25 that were terminated for a total of 93 permitted sites. Okay, and then this is just an example of the outreach to the contractors that Erica did. She put this nice fall reminder together. With the changing of seasons, that creates a hardship sometimes with the how to stabilize a property that's in development. And okay, minimum control measure 5, the post-construction stormwater runoff program. We had, with the use of the Survey 123 app, we had 259 BMPs that were inspected, largely due to marine forest. Thank you. And then with that, we're able to keep track of maintenance needs to inflows and outflows, vegetation impacts, and basically provide a rating. Is that BMP being maintained in a good, fair, or poor manner? So that gives us a better sense of where we need to concentrate on what, based on the BMP type, are there certain BMPs that might be rated poor, or overall is there, are they rated good? Are they being maintained well? So we can communicate that to the HOAs or the property owner that has those on their properties to, like, that from the maintenance needs are, X, Y, Z for that. Okay, and then along with that, we had the property owner was populated, and we were able to keep track of the GPS coordinates for that. So that this, I should have probably pulled this up sooner, but this is just an example from their report that showed that of all the BMP types, 63% were reported as good, 20 fair, and 9% poor. And then the top 4, or the most observed BMP type, were detention ponds, and then down through rain gardens. So once again, that just gives a better sense of what BMP is, how they're functioning over time. So and then with the BMP tracker, we also are able to see where the development is occurring, what township that might be happening in. Okay, and then this is the example of a map that's produced from this. So we can keep track of them, whether they're in critical drainage areas, and as far as if there's maybe a cluster of poorly rated BMPs, that there might be something unique to that area that's causing that condition. So, okay. And then the last minimum control measure, 6, was the municipal operations, pollution prevention, and housekeeping. So with that, it's important to do education for our employees that if there's a spill, or if there's a practice that is leading to erosion or, that we want to minimize our environmental impact, of course. So it's important for our employees to be trained. So they were provided with training for the highway garage, for example. They were given a pre-test and then a post-test to kind of gauge their how they retain that curriculum. And emphasis was placed on, if you have a spill, what happens next? What do you let the spill just run its course and not do anything, or do you take steps to make sure that that spill is cleaned up? So, and basically the same training was provided to the Cars Farm Park employees as well. So, I think, and this is the last slide is just an example of some of the improvements that were done over the year, like for the Cars Farm Park maintenance facilities. For many years, I understand they just had an open dumpster, and they were able to redo their contract with their waste hauler to get a covered dumpster, which is important because if you have an open dumpster, more than likely you're just going to have trash, blow out of that at some point. And they put some signage up near their fueling area to, as far as, if you have a spill, this is the phone numbers and procedures that you need to do to clean up that spill. So that was it in a nutshell. Is there any questions?
I have one. The Clean Marina and Clean Boater program, is that going to also ever be at Lake Lemon?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we're starting with Lake Monroe first, but yeah, I'd like to provide like a laminated poster even to like the gas stations that are in that area, because a lot of times they will do maintenance on boats, and we want to have plenty of opportunity for people to see them, whether it's at the boat ramp or at a business that's related to boating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions?
Yes, and it might just be a comment. And actually going back to the material that was distributed for the gas stations and put together by our stormwater interns. Quickly, I was kind of going online to search it just to kind of see kind of the accessibility of that. And then I guess, not really a question unless you want to address it, but like it's more of a thought and an idea of creating a sub-page that's all for best management practices focused on stormwater. So, the general public could find it. Anything I did find is a bit buried, and if, I think we're moving in this direction where we're creating more educational material of how things are being addressed and what kind of issues do exist out there. And I think it would be really cool if we could kind of create a space where that information is very accessible. And then one other kind of thought that I had is when I was looking at the pre-test for some of these outreach and then the after test, there was one, 36 and only 32% had like a passing rate. And then at the end you gave the test again and it was a 77% passing rate. That's excellent. I'm really curious if there's particular questions that are really stumbling people, and then that could really give us a way to focus some of our education, because if, let's say, a majority of them are, not getting the same question correct, then that means there's an opportunity to provide education or maybe even clarify the question a bit. But those are kind of my thoughts as we were looking at this. And if you want, feel free to try to address it, but it's just kind of more of a comment or some ideas.
Yeah, I agree on both of your points about the gas station. Make that accessible to not just the gas station operators, but just the general public, so that they understand that this is the expectation for the operators. That and then to your point about the test questions, yeah, we should definitely, the test shouldn't just end there. We should learn from that what is creating stumbling blocks, or what material is not easily comprehended, or how can we provide that in a way that they understand it. So thank you for those.
Thank you. Great report.
Any other questions?
Just one quick thing. I wondered if either Kelsey or Adam would send us the information about exactly when in April you're going to do that Clear Creek cleanup, and so that we can help to publicize it too.
We working with neighborhood representatives to have people from that Clear Creek. Basically, I'll give you really quick. The plan is to do Clear Creek from that road down to Church Lane, and we understand some people may not be able to get in the stream in Clear Creek, so we'd like to have that trail cleaned up as well, and that's why I'm working with the Parks Department to coordinate that, since we're kind of cleaning up, both areas.
Sure.
But tentatively, we're looking at for April 29th, which is a Saturday.
Well, it certainly sounds like it was a very successful year for stormwater improvements. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we can hear from Adam Rickard and Marie Dishlan. Oh, no, that was Adam. Marie Dishlan and Forrest Levy.
We're fine up here. That works for you. I guess before we begin, a couple of introductions. I don't think I've had the privilege of speaking to the board as a whole before. So my name is Marie Dishian. I'm a second-year master's student at the O'Neill School, and this is my second year serving as a fellow for the Swimwater team.
Hi again. My name is Forrest. I believe I spoke with you all 2 months ago. And like Marie, this is my second year working as a fellow with the Stormwater Board, and I will be here through next December, or I guess this December.
Awesome. So we're going to be telling you about what work we've had the privilege of doing this semester. But a quick note, this is kind of an applied presentation. It's specifically about the stuff we've done regarding BMP inventorying. Inventorying, sorry, difficult word. But we've also had the privilege of doing other tasks. About, I'd say, a year and a half ago, I set up our Instagram as a way to reach out to more of a younger demographic. Because a lot of people are interested in conservation, but don't know exactly what stormwater is and how that plays into that role. So we've had a lot of success there. Like Adam mentioned, a post about macroinvertebrates got over 16,000 views. So we're getting a lot of support and a lot of education that way. And some other tasks, Forrest has worked on HOA education and other tasks. So, right, but this presentation is specifically about BMP inventorying. So Forrest, if you want to start off.
Yes, so last year, the IDEM passed a new MS4 general permit requiring all MS4s in the state to inventory BMPs. So BMPs are anything that helps mitigate the negative impacts of stormwater, which includes detention ponds, retention ponds, vegetated swales, rain gardens, anything that can help mitigate the negative effects. So this MS4 general permit requires all privately owned BMPs to be inventoried every 5 years, as well as annual inventorying of MS4 owned BMPs. So Erica, Marie, and I, and the summer interns, we tracked many BMPs throughout the county. We used available data. And when we heard about this new MS4 general permit, our internal goal was to reach 250 ponds or BMPs by the end of 2023. So our strategy to find these BMPs was we used aerial imagery, we used plat maps when we were doing field work, such as checking out construction projects, and we saw BMPs, or just even driving. Sometimes we'd say, oh, this is a BMP we haven't inventoried, and we brought our phones, our iPads, anything with the applications we were using to track these BMPs. We tried to go out on nice days. Nobody wants to spend time outside in 10-degree weather in January, so on nicer days, especially on Fridays when Marie and I were both in, we would go out and say our goal is to hit 5 BMPs this week. And we used Survey 123 and the iPad the Stormwater Department just acquired to collect the data. Survey 123 is the surveying app that GIS or Esri uses, which has been used to make our ArcGIS products or maps. Excuse me. So the MS4 general permit requires us to inventory ponds and talk about how good they are. So some things we looked at in our survey was the BMP type, including detention ponds, retention ponds, vegetated swales, the location of these ponds, so the watershed, which neighborhoods they were in, the owner of that, and just general maintenance required, which includes inflow, where the water flows into the pond, the outflow, if it flows out, the bottom of the pond where the water settles, the embankment, so the steepness of it, and any vegetation. So if there were any invasive species, any trees harming the embankment. And we gave it an overall rating using a good, fair, and poor scale. Most of our, Marie will go into detail about the ratio of our good, fair, and poor ponds, but just for your, so you know, examples of things that led to poor ponds were significant erosion, invasive species such as Phragmites, or any problems with infrastructure. So like we said, our goal was to finish 250 by the end of the year, and as of today, we have 300 BMPs inventoried with significantly more plans to inventory more ponds. So that's where we are. And now Marie is going to talk about what we've learned.
Thanks, Forrest. So the exciting thing about having all that information is that now we can look at what the county, has, what is good, what is bad, what falls within those categories. If we collect all this data and don't know how to analyze it efficiently, then what good is it for? So I had the privilege of working on kind of an internal dashboard, which I used Excel to make, and it's essentially a one-sheet report, as you can see on the slideshow here, that gives any information you would like to know easily, quickly, and visually, appealing in nature for the stormwater team. So Kelsey, if you wouldn't mind. There's a lot of slides. So we're going to first focus on this column here that is mostly describing the BMP just data that we've collected. So thank you. So this first section focuses on inventorying. So it's really just kind of showing the data of what is out there, right? So you have how many BMPs by type there are, you have what percentage those account for. You also have a pie graph if it really stands out to see which share of BMPs is detention ponds, for example. And we also have a bar chart at the bottom that's showing that breakdown by county. So it's important to, again, remember that these are very spread out across the county. So if we want to have a day where we're focusing on different mitigation strategies for improving, say, detention ponds, maybe we'll focus on Perry, right? Or Richland, because there's the most right there. And that's what these graphs are telling us. So this next section underneath inventory is looking at ownership. So luckily, Survey 123 allows us to both track the location and the owner of the BMPs in most cases. And this is showing how many unique owners of BMPs there are in total. So a lot of detention ponds, really a lot of retention ponds and vegetated swales. But perhaps the most useful part of this section is, I don't know if you can read the button on the bottom there, but it's a button that clicks you in the application to a list of the exact BMP owners. We're not going to show it here in case it's sensitive information, but that's a really useful part of that section. So moving on to the next column here is really looking at the quality of the BMPs that we have inventoried. So as you can see here, Adam gave us the specific numbers of what's good and fair and poor. Thank you, Adam, for that. But within the dashboard, you can really easily see, again, visually, by BMP type, how many need help, how many are in really good shape, and maybe which ones are more needing help than others. So that bar graph again at the bottom helps us see that, again, detention ponds, of course, because that's the most significant BMP type we have, but we can see that most of those are good, which is good. So this section is really important. It's kind of understated, there's not much going on, but really critical to see kind of the status of our BMPs. And beneath that, within the dashboard is, I think, my favorite application. It's a list of which BMPs specifically by ID number, need the most help. So you have a ranking system here. The top 20 BMPs are given a score based on how much maintenance they need. So I think Forrest touched on it. You know, there's 5 maintenance types. There's inflow, embankment, vegetation, bottom, and outflow. And this is coded in a way to say, okay, inventory ID 118 has all 5 of these maintenance requirements. This is one we really need to target. So again, just a really nice way to quickly and easily see which BMPs might need resources targeted quickly. And the last section of the dashboard, next slide, please. Sorry, there's a lot of slides. Thank you. It's focused on maintenance. So this one's a little bit more involved, but again, a really important thing to understand is what kind of maintenance is needed by BMP type. So the first graphic on top lets you see, you know, by detention pond, by retention pond, you know, is there more embankment maintenance needed? Is there more outflow maintenance needed? And again, this lets us very quickly see which resources we need to deploy and really prioritize our time and our you know, understanding of where in the county and what in the county needs help. So at the bottom there, the text is a little small, but you can see essentially the same information, but in, again, a very visually appealing way. And lastly, the dashboard goes through BMP characteristics. So it shows the BMP type again, you know, whether it's detention pond, retention pond, and it again breaks down the actual characteristics of that BMP. So again, really granular information here at the end, but important to us understanding what we have and again what needs assistance, maybe what is in good shape. So this is an internally facing dashboard. I have a kind of a, if it works, a video showing how you can scroll through and really easily, you know, use this dashboard. You can filter everything by township. I don't know if I mentioned that. That bar at the top there, you can just have Perry show up. You can just have Bloomington show up. But again, it took all of that work Forrest and I did going out in the actual county and getting the information and it's made it usable. So we're really excited about that. And this was finished, oh gosh, maybe a week or 2 ago. So what we're really excited to do now and what Forrest has taken lead on is taking this kind of information and making it external so that anybody in the county can come. You know, the normal user doesn't need that much information. So what we're focused on next is building an Esri dashboard that, again, the average person can hopefully understand and manipulate. So, Forrest, do you want to take this?
Yes, so here is a screenshot of our dashboard, and Kelsey, I believe if you go into the next tab over, you can see how the dashboard currently works. So, next tab, like, okay. But it's similar to the internally facing dashboard, but is a little bit more user-friendly. So I was thinking, what if my mom was interested in BMPs, what would she be most interested in? So it shows the quality of the BMPs around the county, the number of BMPs. It has our GIS map of where those BMPs are, the watershed that they're in, and you can scroll on the map. And as well, if you look at the top right corner, you see what is called an icon. So you can click, you see the number of BMPs inventoried, and there's arrows. You can go to the amount of BMPs that need embankment help, inflow maintenance, outflow maintenance, and then slightly above that are 3 categories that you can use to filter. So the BMP category, say you're only interested in detention ponds. We'll show you all the detention ponds in the county. If you're interested in a specific watershed, you can zoom to that layer, and you can mix and match those to see, all right, let's look at Huck. I don't know the names of them off the top of my head, but it can show the specific quality of BMPs in that specific watershed. This is a rough draft. This is something we've made earlier this week. Some things we plan on adding are the critical watersheds. And Kelsey and I were talking before this about potentially growing this into a story map where we can have pictures of detention ponds, retention ponds, to give people a little bit better idea what are these things. But we think this has a little bit less information than what Marie has, but has the important information for the for the average citizen interested in BMPs. And so our next steps, if you want to go back to the PowerPoint, are to continue inventorying BMPs. I know personally this is my favorite part of the job, going out, getting to explore the county. And this is a good way to see more of the county and get more BMPs involved. The summer interns will likely be doing this as well, and when I'm back in the fall, inventorying more. We also want to contact the BMP owners of the poor BMP owners. Something I'm working on this semester with some help from Marie, Chelsea, Adam, and Erica is creating a document for HOAs about how to fix their BMPs, steps to take, funding opportunities, who in the county or in the general area can help reduce your number of invasive species or fix your embankment. And then when the next MS4 cycle comes up, it will be a lot easier for the next set of SPIA fellows, next set of interns to go find these because we already have them in our database. And so that is our presentation. Thank you so much. And do you have any questions?
Well, now that you have driven all the back roads in Monroe County, are you pledging to stay here after you finish graduate school?
Yeah.
Come on, Forrest, come on.
I don't know. Can't control the future, but
Put him on the spot.
I've known Forrest for several years.
I really appreciate the information. It was really helpful, and yes, it's going to be very helpful for the next inspection round. So great work. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo those comments, and then I think tracking this information is really going to help, and it's great to now be able to visualize it. You beat me to the punch with the Esri dashboard. I'll mention that we just updated our portal, and I'm pretty sure Stormwater is working on the AGO environment. But with the new upgrade with the portal, I think we're getting the new map viewer and dashboard. And the significance is we get to host that data on our server, and they'll allow viewers. So if we're thinking of an internal dashboard, and you wanted maybe to give access to everyone up here with it, if we do that on the AGO environment, each one of us would be considered a viewer, and that would come with a cost. And on the portal, you can have unlimited viewers, so it allows you to share that information more broadly with folks that don't even necessarily have a county email address, which is really great if you wanted to have extended collaboration. So I think that's awesome. Also, I think, just to circle back to my comment earlier, I think this is a great landing page to add an additional link for all of the educational material you're creating, and then they could just click on that and just kind of have the bullet point list of everything that's available. And I think that would create more value and utilization for those educational documents that we have spent time and put together. So I'm pretty thrilled. I won't get on my soapbox, but it's really cool to continue to see this incremental growth of getting out there, collecting the data, tracking this information, and now compiling it where we can set priorities and really start targeting areas that may have not got attention, or we just weren't aware of certain issues, like you were saying, that if you see a cluster maybe, or that was Adam, if we see a cluster of issue, there might be an underlying issue going on versus kind of what the surface perspective is. And I guess that's my final comment is, if you wanted to incorporate a heat map with that data visualization, it's really easy. And I'm willing to talk with you offline, but basically how you have the tabs where you can tab through the information, you could do that with a map too. So you could have one that's a heat map and one that's a point. And I think that the public might get a different sense of what they're looking at between the two options. So that's my only comment. And that was pretty short for a GIS soapbox. So.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it was.
May I add something too? I would love to see something that you show before and after pictures and how implementing some of the information you have shared with people or learned, how that would make a difference to some of these BMPs, especially if you can go from poor to good kind of thing, to show people. And some of this is probably not that difficult to get into place. And so I think also showing people that it's not hundreds of thousands of dollars and, 800 hours kind of thing to do something.
Yeah. Can I add to that? So most detention pond owners should have an operation and maintenance manual given to them when the pond is completed. That hasn't always happened. Every new pond will get one now. But the point is to do that regular maintenance so that you don't have a big headache down the road and have to rebuild it. So right now we're focusing on education and outreach. So telling the property owners that, hey, you do have a significant project ahead of you. Your pond is in a poor state. And we're trying to be sensitive to the fact that some HOAs may not be ready for this. So we're going to be doing the outreach to get them ready so they have funding available for this maintenance if they're not on top of it already. We do have an enforcement mechanism in our ordinance to enforce it if it really does pose a public safety issue or other environmental issue if the pond is not functioning. So we're taking a multifaceted approach to resolving these issues.
Well, thank you very much. This was wonderful information and very well presented. And we really appreciate all the work you've put into it. And with that, we have come to the end of our agenda. So
I have one more. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't put
Please.
myself on the agenda, but I do have a quick something quick for you. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen again. So I have just a couple quick my own staff report for you. First thing I want to do is show you some pictures of the Brummit's Creek Logjam. I brought this to you this morning, and thank you. So this is for the LAIR grant for the removal. This is a picture from last November, which we used to apply for the grant. We had logs and woody debris spanning the whole width of the stream. And since then, this is a picture that I took yesterday after we had some pretty big rain events this spring, and it's continuing to accumulate vegetative matter. And we do like vegetation in the streams and over the banks for habitat, but there comes a point where when you have a logjam spanning the width of the stream, you can see bank erosion and other issues where the stream starts to change its channel. So that's our reason for pursuing removal of this. It's going to be about $9,000 total. And so I just wanted to show you the picture so you can visualize it. We have received numerous complaints over the past few years from residents nearby that it does flood the road. And there are just several issues with this, so it's quick. There you go. I also have a couple quick updates. Our MS4 program is going to be audited by the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. We set a date of August 8th. So they will be coming here, going through all of our files, making sure that we are doing what we need to do. We'll be spending our summer preparing for that. They'll be doing facility inspections, going out to the highway garage and Cars Farm Park to make sure that Adams inspections are proving that, you know, we're actually doing the things we need to do. So that's an update on that. Also, Erica is officially on leave, so we are without our stormwater inspector for the next several months. She'll be returning hopefully in the summertime. So Adam and I will be taking on her workload. So, all right, that's all I have. Thank you all.
One follow-up to your comment about the audit.
Yeah.
That's the one that item does, but DNR is the one that shows up. Or I might have it crossed. Is that the audit that coincides with becoming a CRS community?
No, that's not
that's
related to
different
DNR.
audit. Okay,
No.
so I had that.
Yeah, Tammy, with the floodplain ordinance, she will get audited by DNR. IDEM oversees the MS4 and construction stormwater permitting, and so it's our MS4 program being audited.
And my reason of bringing that up is if we want to consider potentially becoming a CRS community, it has to kind of be in line with that DNR audit. So this is a different audit I'm referring to. So thanks for the clarification. But it would be nice to keep that on our radar too, because I think with the way we're tracking this information and the technology behind it, compiling that information to become a CRS community is going to be a lot easier. And one of the difficulties we've had with not getting that opportunity to become a CRS community is the lack of staff and someone becoming a CRS coordinator. So just want to put that on the radar. I think it's right around the corner that we'll be having that next audit. So.
Thank you. And now we are adjourned.